Hello, Julian here again, or just in another video. Um, it's the what day is it? Sure, let me look. 26, and talking about video games again. It's supposed to be a five-part series. Um, what is the topic of today? First, we did. Actually, what did we do in the first video? Overwatch. Second video was Risk Run, Personal Faith. Now, pretty sure we're gonna do well, not pretty sure. I mean, I'm the one talking, so I mean, it's whatever I say it is. We're doing FromSoft today, game company. I guess kind of Elden Ring, kind of, because it's the most recent game they released. But Elden Ring, that's my thing. Well, not Elden Ring. FromSoft. Those are my guys. It's one of my favorite companies. Well, yeah. One of my favorite companies. I would favorite game developers because I would say coming off the last video where I was speaking high praises of Hoopu, right? I was like, dang, those are my dogs. But they only made one game series, as far as I know. At the very least, I don't know of their other games, and I have no interest in looking into their other games, really. So I only assume it's nothing of importance, nothing of importance to me. So as for FromSoft, right, the company, yeah, all their games, every single one. Anytime they would like talk about a game, I'm like low key. I just have to check that out. Uh, uh, how do I introduce them? FromSoft, the developer, they make the Dark Souls series, Soulsborne games. Think of Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Demon Souls 1. I don't think there's a 2. Think Bloodborne. Bloodborne's really popular. Elden Ring, that was a very, very, very popular. Um, think of Sekiro, Personal Faith. Yeah, I think that's all the games that are relevant to me. I think they made games like a while back, but those were like their breakout hits, and that's what I'm paying attention to. Right, as far as when people speak of FromSoft, they're talking Souls games. Well, there's only one Bloodborne game, but Souls games, and that includes other stuff, Soulsborne, and they combine the other names too, or whatever. Point is, talking about those games. Um, hmm, I don't even know where to start. It would kind of depend. Oh, okay, wait. I guess you could say. I guess I'll start off with like the premise of like what the games are like, community slash production wise, and then to like set up your own like your context for like what we're getting into and then what we're getting into. All right. So FromSoft games. What are these games like? What makes these games have such a cult following, such a strong fan base that I'm a part of, and gladly pushing forward? The games are hard. That's what this really comes down to. That is the, how would you say it? That's the bread and butter right there. That's the salt. It's what makes everything come together. It's a hard game, but what do we mean by hard? Right? It's hard in a meaningful way. What does that mean? Well, there's different ways to make a game hard. You can have yeah, there's very different ways to make a game hard. You can make a game really complicated to understand, so there's like a huge, I guess you could say, knowledge barrier to get into the game. Two, you can make the game hard by just making it almost impossible. You can make a game almost impossible in a number of ways. You could give enemies a lot of health. You can just make it like a very small window of winning. Like you have to do something exactly like this, or else you will fail. Like I said, giving enemies extra health, making them do extra damage, basically tuning up numbers on things so that then it makes it so that then you go from like, oh, your health is enough to get hit 5 times and therefore make 5 mistakes, to making it that you only make 2 mistakes or 1 mistake or 1 mistake or 0 mistakes. You get 0 mistakes or else you lose. There's a lot of different ways, but FromSoft has created I guess you could say a genre, or at least a game series or series of games that I guess you could say specialize in being hard in a satisfying way that when the player is playing the game, they don't feel like I have been bamboozled and I am losing. I've spent my money on a game that isn't fun to play. It's just hard to play. Dark Souls games and their entire catalog of games in that Soulsborne series, well, not series, but Soulsborne genre, are meaningfully hard. How so? Generally, it would come down to one, it's not hand-holdy. A lot of games, uh, a lot of games tend to have like tutorials, explain the basic stuff. How do you heal? How do you hit? How do you jump? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the buttons, right? And they explain pretty much everything you need to know about anything. Like there's crafting, explaining you all the crafting. If there's what other games could there be? If there's like a counter move in a game, it explains you how to counter. If there's any like tips and tricks, special moves, whatever, generally they'll explain to you. Soulsborne games tend to shy away from over explaining. They'll give you the basics like how to attack, how to do, the I wouldn't say bare bones, but like the core elements of the game. And then from there, you're off to the races. One thing they don't do is like a relatively open world. Different games are not as open worlds. Like they'll have like open sections and then you go to different sections. Elden Ring is their first like proper like this is an open world. You can go from one end of the map to the next end of the map and like you just go there for the most part. Without like fast traveling specifically. Like it's not like I guess you could say it's not like an island. Let's think of like the world, right? Let's say you're in Europe, and then you want to go to like an island off the coast. I don't know any islands. I'm not a geographer. I'm just a gamer. But let's say you're in Europe, right? You want to go to an island, and theoretically, right, if it was open world, at least the idea when you want to have an open world game is that theoretically you want to be able to drive from where you're at in Europe to the island. But in reality, you're going to need to either take a plane or like a boat or something. That would be considered the fast travel. In these games, and most of these games, it's like, you can explore Europe and you can explore the island, but you have to fast travel between the two. You can't just go from Europe to the island. The Ring, first game to go, you can go from Europe to Ireland. Generally speaking, there are still some places where it's like you gotta fast travel there, but for the most part, you can kind of walk your way to every spot you want to go to. Like there isn't like a necessity to like fast travel from here to here. Anyway, right? So with all that, they don't hold your hand with like, I don't remember what I was saying. I apologize. Okay, well, start over. That little part, that was important. But turn back into it. What do they do that makes it like meaningfully hard? For one, they don't hold your hand with like tutorials and stuff. They'll give you the bare bones, but it won't over explain stuff. It'll kind of leave it to you to figure it out, kind of, which sounds like it would be like, oh, well, aren't they like leaving stuff out? Well, it kind of gives you more of like a, how would you say? I guess you could say it's simple, but there's like a certain amount of skill ceiling. Kind of like I said with Risk of Rain, where it's kind of like your knowledge base makes you better. So it's not just that you're progressing further and getting stronger stuff. You're doing the same thing from the beginning that you're doing at the end. Things you do in the beginning of Dark Souls, things you do at the end of Dark Souls or a Soulsborne game. Any Soulsborne game is different. You're going to play differently because you've learned a lot of stuff to become better, right? So with these games, it's kind of like a similar thing where it's like, there's a lot of like I said, the bare bones stuff, you'll get that for free. But you'll learn a lot of skills and ways to interact with the world and like ways items interact with other enemies and so on and so forth. That like they don't explain that to you because that's for you to figure out. Because it's kind of like, I guess you could say it's more like immersing, where it's like, I'm the character. I know how to like move around and stuff. I don't know what's going on, right? That guy over there, I don't know if he's dangerous or not. We'll just kind of see how it goes. it's 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 not a major thing, but it's something that like changes the pace of things. Like it feels like okay, you know, I'm out here and I'm out here. You know, I don't know where I'm at, but we get busy. So I think that increases difficulty. Two, there are difficult enemies, quite difficult enemies, but again, in a meaningful way. Not all the enemies are quite different. They have interesting moving patterns. They're interestingly designed and stuff. They're not like how you say cheesy in the sense that like I said, that overly high damage or that overly high health, where it's like this random enemy right appears off the corner, and you go to swing at him, hit him, or you get a whole bunch of hits off. It does like no damage. They swing at like an extreme fast pace, and they do all your health and damage, right? And you're done. And it's kind of like, well, that felt stupid because I got a whole bunch of hits off. I got no reward from it. And then when the enemy attacked, they attacked so fast that it wasn't even realistic for me to like do any like countermeasures against them. And then I died. That kind of thing, right? And so when you have something like that hard in a meaningless way and not enjoyable to play against that kind of system. Versus in Dark Souls, there are characters, there are enemies for that matter, and the bosses that do a lot of damage and they attack pretty fast. But it's all in a fair way. It's always very possible and plausible to dodge and maneuver and sometimes block. I'm a dodge guy. This is important to the Soulsborne experience. You're either a dodge guy or a block guy. I'm a dodge guy. I specialize. But, right, there's always a way to like counterplay an enemy or thing. It's not always like some super obscure thing. Sometimes it is. Sometimes. Some bosses get that like they get that little obscure bonus where it's like they do a whole bunch of weird stuff. They do a couple of weird things, but you know, there is a way for you to do it. You just gotta find it kind of thing. But that's rare. Most bosses it is as simple as actually not even that simple. It can go as far as, right, there are these things called soul level 1 runs, or level 1 runs, right, basically. Someone will play the game at level 1. Can't access a lot of weapons, can't access a lot of armors. For the most part, you can't even really take damage. And you play the game from beginning to end, first boss to final, and they'll do it. And we're not talking, I mean, people can cheese the game, like, you know, do little glitch stuff or like exploit a little powerful status or something. But for the most part, these people will go stem to stern legit, like they're playing the game. Why? Because the difficulty is enjoyable. The difficulty of enemies and things around you is based on skill. So you can beat an enemy by being over leveled, just doing enough damage that it doesn't really matter how strong it is. But for the most part, if you want to beat an enemy or a boss, it really just comes down to if you're good enough, you won't need to take damage, and you can just defeat them. That is how the difficulty is. So you can say it's more psychological. Like I said, the tutorials, not a lot of tutorials. So it's like you kind of feel like you're just in the world. You're not being told a whole bunch of stuff constantly. It's like you have a little tutorial at the beginning, you're good, you're off to your races. They don't tell you where to go. You explore, you figure out where to find stuff. You find secret stuff by accident because they're not telling you where to go. So it's not like, oh, you know, do I go to that corridor or do I go down that corridor? You decide. I mean, obviously, you're going to need to go down a certain path to actually get to where you need to go. But for the most part, it's not like the game's telling you actively, like, go that way. Elden Ring's a little different. We'll get to Elden Ring. The video's going on, so stick with me. But for the most part, with other Soulsborne games besides Elden Ring, they don't tell you where to go for the most part. It's kind of like you're exploring, and while they are kind of like funneling you, it's like wide top, and then eventually you'll just come to go that way. Even so, it's still enjoyable because, like, you know, you're not being forced down this path. And so it makes it more entertaining and interesting to, like, go down secret paths because there's stuff everywhere. They reward you for exploring and, like, you know, not necessarily like just bum rushing the path that appears to be the correct way to go. Take your time, see what's around. You'll probably find something secret that's really interesting. It rewards you. Like I said, the enemies difficult but fair. They're not overly strong that you can't figure them out. But if they're strong, they're just as easy. Not just as easy, but if they're really strong, they're still very plausible to beat without taking damage. Which is kind of the point. If you can beat them without taking damage, it's not like some cheesy method where you're like exploiting something in the game. And it's like actively given to you by the game, by the developers. Like, hey, if you do it this way, right, and you have enough skill, you know the timings of their attacks, and you're locked in. Get your gamer brain on, your Dark Souls brain, you'll be just fine. I've I've never attempted to do a no damage run. I don't got the patience for that. That takes dedication that I just don't have. But I've definitely gotten good enough at any of the games, the Soulsborne games that I played, that has been like, that you can tell the difference. Like from beginning to end, you're like, this guy, he's gone through a journey. He's come out the other end. He's stronger for it. It's like that. Is there anything else that I can immediately point out? The bosses are known for like being really, 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 really good. They're very enjoyable to fight. It's like the whole thing. It's a great time. Always very great design, music. One thing from software, they'll create a good soundtrack. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, same thing applies with like enemies. Very fair fights. Uh, Very, spectacle, powerful. Does a lot of damage. Sometimes has really quick attacks. Sometimes really damaging attacks that are really quick. But still, fair. You can beat the fight, no damage. All it takes is skill and time. And not necessarily super long. Sometimes, for some people, there are some people who fight bosses. We'll get to that once we get to Elden Ring. We're getting there, right? We're doing premise stuff. There are some people who fight bosses that are like known for being the hardest in the entire series, the whole genre, and they'll defeat them on like try number 3. Mind you, some people go hundreds of tries for these bosses, but being on try number 3, they'll be like, I don't know, it's gonna happen. So it just depends on your skill level. I'm trying to think if there's like a third thing I would say like makes the games difficult, but is difficult in like a meaningful, enjoyable way. I guess you could say like the dropping your souls or whatever currency you have when you die in game, kind of. I mean, it's a little tricky with that one because you can get your stuff back, so it's not like you just lose it forever. But I wouldn't describe it as like it's a hard thing. Like it's definitely one of those things where it's like if you're not used to that, it's like, oh, like I pay for losing in this game. Which I guess you could say. I guess you could say that is a meaningfully hard thing where like really punishes you for like dying in game. Like you pass like it punishes you for dying in game. It punishes you for not thinking when you're playing, like not like I wouldn't say strategizing is the word. Strategizing and like making plays, so to speak. Like I said, it's a part of that immersion thing where it's like you feel like you're your character. So you got all your souls, like you feel that weight of like I don't want to lose here. I need to like survive. Like you really feel that. And you could say that's immersion. You could just say that's just a thing. It's not that big a deal. But for me, like I said, it is one thing that for sure is definitely difficult. There's nothing, there's an experience in Soulsborne that I will describe to you that you will not fully understand unless you play Soulsborne games. You get a lot of souls. Just defeated a whole bunch of enemies. Might even defeated a recent mini boss who dropped a lot of stuff. And like, shoot, I get to the bonfire or the shrine or whatever, right? Whatever game you're playing. I get to the little thing, and you're getting over. You're rushing, looking around, trying to find stuff. You get attacked. You die. Snuck, even. You're like, okay, Shoot, I dropped it. Dropped my stuff. But I gotta get back. I gotta get it back. You're running. You're running. That health is dropping because you're getting attacked. All right. And I mean, you're healing here and there, but like it's like okay, I can't be making mistakes. Try to get over there, and you die. You lose all your souls. Or your currency, whatever it is. That's a pain that only a Dark Souls person will understand. The anxiety before that, before you die, as you're getting over there, that is something a Soulsborne person will only truly understand because it is a stressful time. Especially when you need that stuff. Like you're like, oh man, 100,000, it's 9,000 level up. I'll get like two or at least three to five levels out of this. Didn't even have a chance. Didn't even have a chance. I think that's it for like meaningful difficulty stuff. But I was gonna mention it as we go along. Like enemy design is really good. Variety for like gameplay. The only one that doesn't have variety for like creating your character in terms of like one their look, variety in terms of like how you want to build them. So like they can do magic, they can go like a bleed build, sorcery builds, etc. Like there's a lot of varying up because it's a RPG at the end of the day. It has a strong genre, but in its core, it's still a role playing game. You're playing as a character, sort of. If you create the character, but you're playing as a character, so you get to customize whatever. What else? Exploration, secret stuff. There's secret stuff all over the game. Bosses, music, lore. Kind of you're into like getting deep into the lore. There's plenty of lore there, like learning about the story and stuff. But the story is not presented in like the traditional manner. It's kind of presented on like if you want to know the story, you're gonna have to go find the story. And if you don't care about the story, then don't worry about it. You're not getting told it anyway, kind of thing. But as opposed to, like, again, it's part of the immersion. It's kind of like, yeah, sure, they give you a little bit of exposition, but then you know what's going on, kind of. But unless you're like really trying to find the story, you're not really gonna know all the details. But that's the point. You're supposed to like use your noggin. You don't just mindlessly play FromSoft games. You gotta get into it. What else? No, I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's about it. Um, Going on from there. Now I think we can start talking about the games. You kind of got the idea. Difficulty, huge thing. Good design choices. Uh, paywall, no battle pass, no in-game purchases for like stuff. There's no pay to win. There's no pay to win. That's not a thing. It's get good to win. Get good. That is like a tagline of the series. Like when someone says like in the little let's say Reddit group or forum or on YouTube or whatever, YouTube comments is like, well, what do I do about this thing? Like I keep on losing to this enemy. They're like, get good. Like obviously there's strategies for stuff like they can explain to you, but at the end of the day, to a certain degree, it kind of comes down to like you can't unless you cheese on purpose. Unless you purposely cheese the game, there is no such thing as how do I beat this boss? Like am I just doing something wrong? Like no, you just need to improve. Like you just got to spend time, put in the hours, or it won't take that long, but put in the hours, and you'll pull it off. You'll pull it off. So yeah, I like playing difficult games. In this last video, I said at the end of this video, I like difficult games. I like the achievement. So I will say these games appeal to me in a way that it probably won't appeal to other people. Like they'll probably be like, "Oh, what? I want no part." But me, I want a part. I want a big part. That's how I play the games. All right, I think we've done enough preamble. I think we can get into an actual game. Elden Ring. Elden Ring is the most recent FromSoft game and debatably the quintessential precipice of FromSoft games and like the breakout game of like the series of breakout in terms of like popularity for sure, but also breakout in terms of how would I say breakout in terms of like perfecting like the recipe, I guess you could say, of like FromSoft games / Soulsborne games. Um, I would I would say it was really good. I would definitely describe it as my favorite game of that year. Was that last year? Actually, yeah, I guess it was last year. Dang, that was last year. Anyway, but yes, that was my favorite game of last year. I was very much looking forward to it ahead of time. I didn't pre-order it. I don't pre-order games. It's a whole different issue. Maybe that might be my last. That might be my last one. Just complaints about the, not complaints, but discussion about the gaming industry on its own, not of a specific game. But nonetheless, um, as far as Elden Ring, yeah, I didn't bother pre-ordering it. I got the game, uh, played it a lot. Made a whole series on it. Well, I did on like Twitch or whatever. But yeah, very nice, very nice. I don't even. It's hard to describe my experience because it's a FromSoft game. So I died a lot. It was a lot of fun. I fought a lot of cool bosses. I had a great time. Um, Fought a lot of enemies, helped some people out, played some games with some people, enjoyed the content that was coming out at the time. Uh, yeah, yeah. It's hard. Like I said, it's one of those things where it's kind of like if you don't play the game, it's hard to explain. I could get specific with it, like be like, oh well, I ran a moonlight, I think it's moonlight katana, something like that. But I ran this build and I was doing this, and I did that. Like, a little specific for the video in terms of like, I mean, I can be specific, but a little overly specific, like, is a little bit much in my mind. Uh, hmm. How do I describe my thoughts about the game? Well, for me personally, I would describe it as like a 9 out of 10. Not perfect, because I don't know. See, I was gonna say like, oh, I had problems with the game, but like, not really. Like, I had a pretty good time. No glitches really. I enjoyed every part of it. Played it through. Defeated. Oh, I decided to try to do like a special run. Well, not a special run, but like I don't like playing video games twice. In terms of like, especially if it's like a story game or something like it's like a, yeah, like a playthrough and that has like a definitive ending. I don't really like going past that ending point. Or like once I hit my goal, I'm done with that. So as far as Elden Ring goes, um, how do I want to put it? I guess you could say it's perfect because I don't have anything inherently wrong to say just thinking about it. But I don't want to say it's perfect. I don't feel like it touched me in that way. It was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I love FromSoft games. I really like Elden Ring. I played it all the way through. Like I played it quite a bit, but it's not like a one-to-one thing. You know, it's not like a, yeah. I started playing the game. I finished playing the game. I have no complaints. 10 out of 10. It does not work that way. I feel like there's probably things that can be improved. I see people make very long videos basically complaining about like the game can be improved. It's good. It's really good. Not the best though, which is not. Which is why I'm saying it's 10 out of 10. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I kind of talked about the things I already liked about the game. I guess I could say like more specific stuff. Certain bosses, standouts, Radon, the Star Scourge, that guy, peak, almost peak gameplay. Like like the music coming in, you get spawned into this thing. Oh, the heck, even before that, hold on, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Radon Festival. Okay, you get there. Okay, so it's like this location, right? I don't even remember. It's like Caleb. It's somewhere in Caleb, right? Whatever. Get to this castle, right? Cool. It's hard to even get in there. You get in there, you get to the Coliseum. There's enemies in the Coliseum. You gotta fight the enemies in the Coliseum. That took me forever. That was really hard. That was like a hard double mini boss fight. I refused to summon people to help because in this game, in Elden Ring, there's options like either some AI monsters slash characters that assist you in fighting, or you can summon a person to help you out, and like come in from another world to help you, like an actual real player. I refuse to do either. Like I said, I'm here for the difficulty, and I like having an achievement. I don't like cheesing especially don't like cheesing games. I don't like cheesing games when I know about it. I don't like cheesing games like this, particularly because the whole point is that it's supposed to be difficult. The fun part is that I beat a difficult boss through through sheer strength of will. All right, so I fight these double bosses and this double mini boss. I beat them. Took forever. Nice. I already knew Radon was there. I go inside. Then you get a little cinematic, right? And you talk about Radon's Star Scourge. I'm like, jeez, like this is some From Software. Like he gets his own like little mini trailer, just basically being like, he's this boss Radon, the goat, the goat. But he's old and shabbled now. Like I said, more reasons why he's like that or whatever. But it's like this guy right here, the goat. Now, now, indeed, again, the people who were saying this is a Radon festival and like saying us to like go defeat this guy, well, not even defeat, kill him, are his own soldiers, right? And his soldiers are saying us to do this because the guy has lost his mind because of his last fight, and he like him and the person he was fighting drawed, and so right, they're like, hey, we gotta put him out of his misery, so we hold the Dawn Festival, and we're gonna defeat him eventually. And I'm like, I got it. Get down there. Great fight. Best part when he flies around the area and then comes in like a little meteorite. Great gameplay. Great gameplay. Good music. Good visuals. Great setup. Just one of the greatest spectacle fights ever. It's like one of those things where it's like you can watch it, but it's something special. There's a special joy you get from fighting from soft bosses when like you've earned your spot, your keep in terms of fighting them. It's like I said, it really is just something special. That like again, you can't understand it if you don't play from soft games. It's just hard to understand. It's hard to explain. It's not my job to explain. Play the games. But yeah, it was such a good fight. But that was like the favorite. But there is, well, two other bosses that I really wanted to fight. That I did fight because I had to fight all of them. Moog, the not the only king. I forget what his epithet is, but Moog, hard boss, very very hard. Cool, love his soundtrack, very nice. The blood and the fire and the throwing of the blood, annoying. Great fight. Um, like I said, it sounds like random if you like don't play the games, but I'm gotta just work with me. You gotta work with me. But now I think we can talk about the hardest boss, the basically the hardest boss across all these games, right? Millennia, Blade of Megala. There we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It took me about 250 tries to beat this boss over the course of a week. I beat her though. A feat not many can say they've done. It is my first. Beating him, well, her, was my first super boss. Now, From Software is known for having really good games and having really good development, but they're especially known for their bosses. Why? Because they're really well designed and they're made to be, like I said, difficult but fair is like the motto, besides Get Good. Get Good is a motto by the community. Difficult but fair, you could say, is like the design philosophy around all these games. Like they're difficult games. They're hard to play. Like they're not like they're not something that you do. Like they're not games that you play haphazardly. Like it's not something you turn on when you like want to mindlessly just run around and just kind of like win stuff. Like you gotta like put some work into beating them, right? So this translates into bosses where they become the quintessential thing where they're like overall speaking, I would say they're all very hard. I wouldn't say they're all really great designed or anything like that. there's like a hierarchy. Some games have better bosses than others, and some bosses end up leading the pack, and some bosses end up falling behind the pack. It happens. With anything that it could be good. With a lot of anything, there will be good and bad ones. When it comes to bosses, the same is true. But generally speaking, when it comes down to it, the general consensus is when it comes down to a good, like the high tiers of the what's it called, from software bosses, there's there's something truly special about these ones. Radon, as I was describing, is one of them. Well, you could also make an argument. He's like maybe B tier to A tier, and they're difficult. They are difficult. I will lose them a lot. They'll require you to like think. You gotta memorize their moves, and even when you memorize their moves, like when you try to fight them from top to bottom, and like you're not super over leveled. Even if you're super over leveled, you can still lose. But even if you're super over leveled, it's still a struggle, and you might catch your heart beating a little fast towards the end of it. It's truly a momentous moment to beat one of these like difficult standout bosses on your own. I say on your own because again, you can cheese. There's a lot of ways to cheese, especially in Elden Ring. There's a lot of ways to cheese. But for me, I played all these bosses straight up. I used the build I wanted to use. It wasn't anything overly like crazy. It was a struggle true and true, but it was done. I beat a lot of bosses. But in a lot of these games, there is at least one super boss. What is a super boss in From Software games? Well, like I said, From Software games, fair but difficult. Difficult bosses, enemies, terrain. The terrain itself that doesn't officially do any damage. A rough time, but they take it up an ante. There's one boss every game that is ultra hard. They're usually a secret boss, but not necessarily. It is truly a testament to your skill to beat one of the super bosses. Now, again, they're not super as in like, oh, it's a regular boss, but it's like the upgraded variant. No, 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 no. It is its own character, and they are just known for being very difficult because these games are difficult. It's a tough thing to do. So, Blade of Millennia is the secret boss slash ultra boss in this game. She is very polarizing because of one thing, waterfowl dance. I remember this because that move I had to look it up because I was dying to it myself a lot, and I needed some headway. All right, so I don't even know how to explain it. So I guess you could say this is like the one descriptor, which is that like it's the number of small things. Sorry, tired. It's been a long day, but I wanted to do this video for you guys, so there you go. Nonetheless, though, yeah, Melania. I don't even know how to break her down. I mean, fast, regular sized character. Because different bosses. Bosses can be like really huge compared to the character. They can be small in comparison to the character. Humanoid bosses are my favorites. They're usually fast. It feels more like a duel, a dance even. This lady, she can duel. All right, fast, high damage, heal on hit, healing while hitting. If she hits you, she heals health. So you gotta get her all the way down and not take damage, not just because you don't want to get hit, but because she will heal over your hit and probably kill you if you got tagged. Yeah, that first phase. Ooh, that's another one. Pretty much all bosses have like two phases. I don't mean like two phases as in like halfway through their health they'll stop, power up, then come back. Second phase. No, no. For the weak. When I say second phase, I mean you knock the boss's health down to zero. They will fake you out, pump fake, like Okay, I don't play basketball, but let's say dribble, dribble, ball, ball. Yeah, that was terrible basketball form. As you can see, I don't play 2K. I don't play real basketball. Not my sports. It's not gonna happen. But right, pump fake. You think you killed them? No, you didn't. They're back, full health, and they're stronger, and the moveset changed. Have fun. This lady. Now, I knew she had a second phase. This was just a fact. The secret boss, she has a second phase. This is a fact. But man, man, the second phase, not to be trifled with. First phase is not to be trifled with. People haven't got. Some people didn't get through the first phase, and I guess I'll talk about the reason in like 2 seconds. But phase two, upgrade, very strong, but very cool. Ending, very nice, very nice. Why can't people beat this boss? Why is this boss polarizing? Waterfall Dance. What is a Waterfall Dance? It is a string of attacks, but I can explain it better than that. It is a string of attacks that does a lot of damage, and are known to be possibly the only move that is like impossible to dodge the normal way. How do I explain it? So dodging gives you iframes, which basically makes it so that then, how would you describe it? It makes it so that then when you're doing this movement, you're invincible, so you can't take damage during this movement. So that's pretty much the iframes. Like when you do the dodge rolls, there's a certain point where you can't take damage, and so like you learn how to like dodge in the iframes. Not that you know where the iframes are, but just that the game teaches you to know. It forces because you're gonna die a lot in the game. It basically forces you to like figure out like how to dodge stuff properly. Um, but her move is like the only is like that move in particular is known for being like the one move where it's like almost impossible to dodge. Now that is not to say it is actually genuinely impossible to dodge this move. You can. Even I've dodged most of it, but more times than not, you're gonna get clipped by it and you're gonna get eviscerated. It it got me plenty of times, like plenty of times. But that doesn't mean it's gonna stop me. But I'm just saying it has got me many times. Other people, it's made them quit the game. Um, but yeah, that move was very polarizing because it was like the one move you can't dodge, and like a lot of from software Soulsborne people in the community, like a big premise of the games is that hard but fair. And part of the fairness is that like you can beat the game without taking damage. You can beat the whole game without ever feeling like anything that has happened to you in terms of your character, like losing or dying or taking damage, etc., is someone else's fault. It always comes down to like, hey, if you would have played better, you would have been better. But because you didn't play better, you weren't good enough, you're gonna lose. Waterfall Dance kind of threw that out the window, which was disappointing. But I still beat her. I was not trying to do a no hit run. I was just trying to win. I did beat her. I beat her fair and square. It was a hard fight battle. 250 rematches. It was done. It was done. Yeah. That's a big part of the reason why she's thingy, and then also it's like she heals. It's very annoying. Uh, like again, it's not easy to dodge all hits. The idea that you hit me and then you regained a lot of your health through hitting me one like 3 or 4 times, baffled a baffled look on my face. Um, but yeah, she's very difficult. She's very difficult. She has a lot of things playing into her favor in terms of like an enemy. But for me, hey man, like I still did it. I beat the boss fair and square. Everybody else who hasn't beaten her yet, I don't think you will. And if you can't, it's not my fault. Wonder why? Because I'm that guy. I have nothing to do with this. Nothing at all. And I am very skilled at the jobs I do. Um, so yeah. With that being said, yeah, I beat her, and yeah, that's pretty much why people are polarized on her. It's just because she does that, and also again, she's really hard to beat. Like she's very, very, very hard to beat. So for some people, it's kind of like, hey, I knocked her down, or I'll literally get her low, and then she's kind of like, oh well, I just came back to life. So not to say I'm sorry for you, but yeah, that's the situation. Yeah, I think, but yeah, 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 I think that's about it for Melania. She's just very, very difficult. And if you played the game and if you played against her, accidentally ended the recording. I was gonna move the mouse thing. But yeah, played against her, uh, or played against her, you can definitely attest to like, oh, yes, it does really feel like a very, very, very uphill battle to try to beat her without getting help. If you get help, it's actually way easier. But I wasn't gonna do that. But yeah. Other aspects of the game. Oh, another thing that people didn't like about the game that people really complained about the final boss. Again, bosses are like a huge thing in the game, at least in the community. Like it's a big, big part of like the experience. As far as the final boss, there are technically three. So start off with one, the entry guy. You beat him. Good boss. Everybody likes him. Cool. Second boss, it's a double boss. Not two health bars, two different bosses. One after the other. You don't beat one, you don't beat either. You go in. First boss. His name is Radagon. Cool guy. Nice build. Not nice build, but nice design. Good attack strings. Everything. Very nice. Great experience. Second boss. Uh, Year old game. I'm not really explaining stuff. Elden Beast, right? Cool. It's a big monster guy. Not my preferred, but I never had a problem with these guys. The boss was not hard. Not hard. Exactly. But he's annoying. Is the best way to put it. There's a theory running about this guy as far as this thing. So right throughout Elden Ring, the way the game is set up is that you have like a little steed thing. First time in the game, you get a little steed thing. You're riding around to get places. That's part of like the old open world aspect. So no fast travel if you got a horse. So on the final boss, right? He's a big guy, big arena, big. He has big attacks that take up big parts of space or whatever. Again, you can iframe out of it. You know how to dodge. You know how to dodge. But you know, he kind of like is huge and moves around a lot very fast. It's kind of like, huh? Why are they making a character who like moves in such a manner? Like, wouldn't that be best with your horse guy? Yeah, probably. Which is the running theory. On the final boss, you can't use your horse. Neither one. Again, it's a two-parter. So you beat the first boss, go straight into the second one. It's like a cutscene thing. Um, but you can't use it on the first one because the way the first one's set up is like it's supposed to be a 1v1. The second one, it looks like you should be able to use your horse, so you can't. People's running theory is that when the game was released, they try to figure out. Well, when the game was being in development, they're trying to figure out how to put the horse on the second boss, but couldn't figure it out without messing both bosses up. So they just cut it out. But then it created a situation where now the final boss is kind of subpar because he's just annoying to fight because he hops around all over the place. Again, if you play the game, you'll understand. If you don't play the game, you just gotta bear with me here. But the guy hops around all over the place. He's all over the place. Does a lot of these huge attacks that are like they're not impossible to dodge, but it's a lot difficult when compared to like your running speed and everything. Not the greatest. It's good enough. You can still, like I said, you can still make stuff happen. But it's kind of like if I want to have my horse at this time. Again, this isn't like the only boss where you can fight with your horse. There's other bosses where like you can bring your horse in, like make it make your speed better, or like for jumping, or for different reasons why you can have them there. But the gist of it is you can have them there, and it makes like maneuvering a little bit easier, speed wise, right? That boss appears to be a boss like that, but because we don't really know for sure, it's not like FromSoft has personally come out and been like, yeah, we meant to put the horse in there, but we didn't. We messed it up. So as it stands right now, we just got to consider like the final boss, right, to be like a waste of time. Which again, it's not like the end of the world. It's like out of a game with like 40 plus bosses, one being bad, one or two being bad isn't a death sentence or like a world ender, but it's also kind of like, come on, guys, get it together. So, yeah, I mean, for me personally, it wasn't like he wasn't the final boss, like the last one, Elder Beast. He wasn't like extremely annoying. He was irritating. He was like semi irritating to fight because it's kind of like coming off the other bosses, right? 'Cause I had to beat Melania beforehand. I had to beat Melania before I got to the final boss. I was like, once I kill the final boss, I'm done. So I'm fighting all these like stellar bosses back to back. Well, not back to back, but I'm fighting all these stellar bosses. I'm fighting all these stellar main bosses. They're all difficult, but fair in their own manner and hard to beat. And I'm enjoying myself or whatever. And this final boss is kind of like, he's cool looking, like very cool looking. The arena, magnificent. I don't know how to speak another language, right? I tried, but nonetheless, the fighting arena, the setting, very, very good. But the boss itself, like the fight itself, is like the example of like not well designed, not bad, not like he's cheating, like not really cheating, but it's like annoying to fight him, and it feels like it's just a bad design. So not bad balancing or like bad concept, just execution wasn't all the way it needed to be to achieve what we want to get out of it, right? So yeah, that's kind of what you can say about all that. Yeah, that's part of the reason why it gets like a 9 out of 10. It's like, if every boss was perfect, for sure. There's probably other minor things that were wrong, but for the most part, honestly, I didn't have, like I said, I can't say I had too many complaints. Like all the bosses were all very, very nice. The health, the not even the health bars. The soundtracks were all bangers. And yeah, I think that's about it for Elden Ring. Elden Ring, one of my very good, very enjoyable. Not my personal fave. My personal fave is Sekiro, which is the game directly before this one. Well, not directly. There's like a Souls, Dark Demon Souls remake that comes right before that one, but it's not the same as a new game. Before that, for the last proper different IP or game or whatever, Sekiro, Samurai, well, not Samurai, Shinobi, Wolf, very good. I'll say that much. Yeah, very, very good. It's very big departure from Soulsborne games. Some people are like, "Oh, it doesn't really count as Soulsborne." It counts as Soulsborne, okay? You know it counts as Soulsborne, but it's very different. Instead of depending on dodges, it depends on parries. You parry stuff. You fight things head on. Very, very nice. I'm a ninja guy. I like ninjas. I think ninjas are cool. I like the aesthetic. I like what comes along with like ninjas in games slash media. I think it's nice. This game, very, very nice. I actually have a figurine. I bought it. It was like a deluxe edition. The only deluxe edition I've ever bought. The only figurine I own. Probably, I wouldn't say it's the only one I'll ever own. That's not true. But it's my personal fave. So I had to do it. But yeah, very cool game. Story is pretty nice. Like one of the few times that I can actually follow the story of a Soulsborne game, because I think I mentioned this in the very beginning, but they are known for being very obscure with their stories. Like you gotta like deep dive to like get anything out of them in terms of story wise. Outside of those instances, you're out of gas, out of luck. You're not just not gonna know what's really going on. What can I say? What more can I say about the game? Once again, great bosses, great sound design, a lot of fun. I like the cool abilities you get as a ninja. Like, what's one? Oh yeah, you can turn people into zombies, but not like in like the like he does like a jutsu and he turns them into zombies. No, 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 no. Like he sticks his hand in a guy's brain if you get a sneak attack on him, and then he makes them do stuff that he wants them to do, and so that can range from him making them pull a lever for him to fighting with him. But it's not like anything like super OP or anything. It's kind of like they fight a little bit for him, but that's about it. It's not like I said. It's like a cool ability, but it's not like some like overpowered thing or like really cliche like he does something weird. Like it's not like that. Like I guess you could say it's like the most realistic mythological ninja ever. Like he doesn't like there's things that he does that are like what the heck, but it's not like ninja magic. Like a lot of it is like you're just going hand to hand. Well, not hand to hand, but like he has a sword, so going weapon to weapon, and you're using weapons. Like you're not like fireball. Like it's not like that. Something like that. But yeah, very nice, very cool, very interesting sections. Like I said, because the game is played with periods, it has no intentions of doing anything online. So there are online aspects to the Soulsborne games, and people do quite enjoy the online portion of these games. But for Sekiro, it's a single player experience solely, so like it's is allowed to breathe more in terms of like how it operates and maneuvers itself and like how it runs. So that, like I said, it's a Shinobi game, so I was gonna buy it anyway. But it is very, very good. I believe it got Game of the Year for the year it came out, and then, just to my surprise, they released a entire like not expansion, but like a huge update that added like more bosses and skins. Skins again for free, no battle pass, no. Well, I think the update was even free. The update was not paid for or anything. Like, it was very comprehensive, very nice. But yeah, the very very good game. Speaking of add-on buys, for a lot of these Soulsborne games, they do have expansions, but expansions are very nice. Not because they give like skins or anything like traditional like that. It's just added content, like another section of the game to get further into like story and like other things that happen, etc. Some they're known for being very very nice. Sekiro didn't get that treatment, sadly. I think Bloodborne, another really big IP for From Software. I think they got a expansion. Um, there are a couple expansions out there, but each one of the expansions is like entirely like an additional part of the game. Like I would describe From Software as one of the places where it's like I not only feel comfortable pre-ordering, but I feel comfortable pre-ordering expansions or like just buying the expansion without even really like knowing what's in there because it's just like they really take good care of their fans. Like they really try to like I would say encourage. That's not the right word. They really try to give good products to the fans. That's all. It's like they don't cut corners on the game. Like they want to make a good game. They're making a good game. And I appreciate that. I truly do. But yeah, I think that's kind of about it for me and FromSoft. I mean, I talked about Elden Ring, the most recent one. Talked about Sekiro, my fave. I talked about Bloodborne when I played all the way to the end. Pretty good, but I didn't get to play the expansion. I didn't feel like paying at the time, and a lot of times passed, so I already didn't play. Still don't feel like it. I can't really think of anything else. Dark Souls 3. I did play. Dark Souls 3 was my first game. It was pretty good. I skipped the first two. Technically, it was all part of Series 3 then, obviously, because Dark Souls 3 is a fun game. But, I didn't really feel like playing the ones previous. And those were like older and they had like different controls and stuff. Too much work. But yeah, yeah. Fate Dark Souls 3, that was my first. Very nice. Enjoyed myself. Beat a bunch of bosses. I did ask for help when playing that game. That game did get me to like be like, oh, can I summon a guy in to help me? Like a real person. Can I get a guy coming in here to help me? And I did kill a lot of bosses by myself. I did attempt to defeat a lot of bosses on my own, but I'd be lying if I said that I didn't get any help. I definitely did. I also did the expansions. I beat most of the bosses. I think I skipped two or three, but for the most part, I did all of them. And yeah, very very good game. From all from software games are like really really good for the most part. Like there aren't really any that like stick out as bad games. But yeah, I think that's enough shilling for my From Software overlords. Don't worry, they pay my taxes, so it's all good. That's a joke. Yeah, I think that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. Do buy From Software games. Do check them out. I think they're really good. Now, given again genre, make sure you like the genre. But yeah, I think they're very nice, very nice. And the next episode of this, God of War, God of War, God of War. I think that's what we might just do. With that all being said, thanks for watching this, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Peace.